How an orphan boy unexpectedly found his fortune. Welcome, dear friends of fairy tales. This is Jadwiga, your fairy tale teller, and this time with a little story from Estonia. Once upon a time, there was an orphan boy who had lost his parents within a couple of weeks after he had just turned 9 years old. So, what should he do? He had to go and beg for food. One day he came to a farmer who said, "Oh, yeah, you can take care for my cows. You bring them out on the meadow in the morning and come back with them at night." And that was a good and easy job for a 9-year-old boy. If not, the farmer's wife had been an evil woman. And instead of feeding him with bread and food, she always had hits and threats for him and, well, kind of tortured him. So he had not a nice and easy life. And one night, when he was just to return back with his cows, he realized one was missing. And he looked around everywhere but couldn't find the missing cow. So, oh, he knew already what would happen when he returns with a cow missing. And right on the first sight, this evil woman saw that one of her cows were missing, and she pulled out a fence post and started beating the poor boy. And she would have beaten him to death if not the farmer had come and said, "Well, if you beat him to death, he cannot find the cow." Yes, that was right. So the woman stopped beating the boy, but said, "If you don't return with the cow tomorrow, I will beat you to death." So the boy started that very night. He went out looking for that cow, but he couldn't find her. She had just disappeared. And so he said, "What could I do? When I go back, I will find my death. So I rather go the other way." And he walked right away from that farm. But he didn't come very far because he was so weak and so hungry that he simply fell down almost dead. And he fell asleep and only woke up when he felt something sweet on his lips. And when he opened his eyes, he saw a man who was just shutting his milk bottle. And the boy said, "Oh, please, please, give me more." But the man said, "No, that's enough for now. But tell me what has happened to you? Because if I had not found you, this would have been your last sleep. You would have died." And the boy told the old man his story. Well, the man said, "I'm sorry. I have neither wife nor family nor children. I don't even have a home, so I cannot take you with me. But I can give you two things and an advice." So he handed that boy the milk bottle and also a sack with some bread. And he said, "Be very careful with that bread and with the milk, and make sure never ever to spoil something, because then it will end feeding you." And on the bottom of that sack, you find an enrolled leaf. When you come to a water, you just take that leaf out of your sack, open it, and it will turn into a boat. And once you have reached the other side of the water, jump out of that boat. It will become a leaf again, fold it together, and put it into your sack. And my advice for you is, when you wake up tomorrow morning, make sure you realize exactly where the sun rises. And then you walk straight towards the sunrise. Have a break at noon for lunch, And after that, go on walking with the sun on your back. So when you do that for 7 years, just walk in the direction of the sunrise, you will find a huge, huge mountain. That mountain will be so high that the top is covered in clouds. And once you have reached that mountain, you have found your fortune. And with these words, the man had disappeared. Now the boy looked into that sack, and there was not only bread, there was a piece of bacon, there was a little box with butter, and another little box with salted fish. So for the first time since very, very long, he could eat enough and drink enough. And then he lay down, fell asleep, and next morning when he woke up, oh, he saw where the sun was rising and went straight that direction. And surprisingly, he had no pain. He was not hungry. Walking was easy. He was almost like swinging. And at noon, he took a break, had something to eat, had a nap, and after that, walked on with the sun on his back. And this he did for 7 years. And really, after 7 years had passed, he saw a mighty mountain in front of him. And it was so high that the top was covered in clouds. It took him another week to reach the bottom of that mountain. But then he sat down and knew he had found his fortune. What happened next was that he heard an unknown noise, and at the same moment, a snake passed him, a snake that has been 12 fathoms long. And fortunately, that snake had not seen him. And while he was still recovering from that fright, oh, he heard another noise on the other side. And that came from a frog that was so big, like a 2-year-old horse. And the frog jumped, brought him across him, and did not realize him. And they both disappeared, the snake and the frog. And then he heard something like a thunderstorm above him and saw an eagle passing over him. Whew. He didn't have much time to think about that when he saw a rider approaching him. And this horse, that horse seemed to have wings on his hooves because it did not really touch the ground. It just kind of flew towards him. And when they had reached him, the rider stopped the horse and asked, "Did somebody pass here? Something? Somebody?" And the boy said, "Yes, a 12-fathom snake came along." "And what else?" asked the rider. "Well, and a frog as big as a 2-year-old horse." "And what else?" "And an eagle flying across me." "Oh," said the rider, "these are my 3 enemies. I have to kill them. But if you want to work for me, I will pay you good money and give you good food. Just cross this mountain, go down on the other side, and there you will find my house, and I will be waiting for you there already." Well, the boy said, "This is probably my fortune." And he started climbing up the mountain, which took him 3 days to reach the top, and another 3 days to go down on the other side. And there he found the house of that rider, who from this moment is only called the host. So the host welcomed him, showed him everything around, told him what he had to do, and at least went with him into the basement. And in the rocks of that basement, there was a chamber hidden in, which was secured with the 3 layers of iron doors. And the host said, behind these doors are my 3 dogs. They are really, really dangerous because when one will escape, the other 2 can't be held anymore. And when these 3 dogs are set free, there will be no life on Earth. There will no planet, no Earth any longer. Everything will be destroyed by these 3 dangerous dogs. So your job is to 3 times a day and once a night check the store and take care that the dogs don't dig a hole below the doors. And if you see something like that, if you see a nose appearing under the door, you go to this mountain. And he showed him a mountain that was put on with huge, heavy rocks. And he said, well, you take 12 oxen out of the stable, put them in front of a carriage, and then with this iron wart, you will be able to easily lift one of the rocks onto this carriage, and the oxen will carry that rock right in front of that hole. And then you lock that hole that the dogs have dug. That's all you have to do. So that was quite easy. The boy did very well. He got good food, and his sack with the money filled slowly by slowly, so that he kind of became rich. And once it even happened, after maybe 2 or 3 months, that he saw a nose approaching under that door. And he immediately got one of these big rocks and put them right before this hole. But even though his job was easy, he did not have to work very hard. He just had to check the iron doors and do some minor things in the house. He sometimes missed other people because the host used to sleep from time to time, but once he fell asleep, he did that for a couple of weeks. And during those times, the boy felt quite lonesome. And once it happened that an eagle came down and landed right beside the boy and said, "Hey, my friend, do you really want to waste your life just for good food and for money? You have so much money, but there are no people who need it. So why do you want to waste your life here? You just have to take your master's, your host's horse, leave with it across the mountain, go where you came from, and within a couple of days you will find people. You will find company. And you just have to make sure that this horse is tight very closely, because once it gets loose, it will run back to its master and he will go and bring you back. So why don't you just do that?" And the boy thought for a little while and then said, "Well, but who should watch the dogs?" "Ah," the eagle said, "you are a fool, and your fool you will remain." And with these words, he was off. Yeah, who will watch the dogs? What are these dogs? The boy has never seen them. Whatever he knows about these dogs is what his master, the host, told him. But he cannot know whether they are really so dangerous. And that reminds me to to all these fears that are created to keep us small and obedient. And nobody has ever really seen these dangerous things or experienced them. But they are created, they last for a while, and then poof, all of a sudden they disappear. Nobody ever talks about them. And you wonder, is this acidic rain that killed our forests? What happened to that? Did the forests got used to acidic rain, or did the rain stop to be acidic, or what happened? Nobody talks about it. And it was the same with this hole in the sky where the sun would burn us to death all. And they measured the hole and it had become bigger. Oh, thanks God, it became a little bit smaller. But now it's expanded. Who is talking about that today? And so we have a lot of fears that have been put on us to keep us small and obedient and not asking too much. And there are always scientists who prove that. For example, the climate change, this dangerous thing that will kill us all, even though there have times been on Earth where it has been much warmer. And hey, look, we're still there. We are still here. We have survived. So why is that so dangerous? And there are always new fears created. And I think these dogs are just like these fears. We have never really experienced, improved them. We just believe what they told us. And we feel guilty when we enter a plane or when we eat meat or when we drive with our car because this is so evil for the climate. We are killing our planet. And you should be ashamed if you do that. Well, so these dogs keep the boy from asking himself, what would I like to do? How could I enjoy my life? What is the wish of my heart? How can I expand my creativity? Where can I find maybe a family, children, community? Do I want to dance? Do I want to sing? Do I want to make music? Do I want to heal people? Do I want to paint or whatever? He never asks this question because he's so busy taking care for these dangerous dogs. So he cannot allow himself to do what his heart tells him what he should do. Yes, and I think that's something we all experience, hopefully in the past, and now waking up and say, hey, these fears are not real. They are just created to keep us small and obedient and to keep us from using our brains ourselves. And with AI, it becomes even easier not to use that brain, but to ask questions, and we get all the answers we want. But whose answers are that? Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me a thumb when you liked it or for subscribing to my channel. I am happy to see you again here and I just say bye. Ja, kann ich das jetzt nicht mehr aufhören? It doesn't stop. Okay, now.